Welcome to Marc My Words, a show that searches for the fork in the road in life, the place where the turning point in the journey of entrepreneurship and life can be found. Let's meet each other at the crossroads on Marc My Words. As some of you might know, I've been working in the television industry for 20 years now, and my job, for the most part, has been to do quality control on television shows, commercials, infomercials. I've logged a ton of time watching very forgettable content over the years, like probably thousands of hours of content. And not a whole lot is actually memorable unless I really dig through my memory a little bit. However, there is one man who has remained unforgettable in my mind, and that man is Matthew Lesko, who is the founder and owner of Information USA. But that's really just where it begins because I used to see this man and it's funny, a lot of his YouTube and Instagram comments are from people who say, "Oh, I remember seeing Matthew late at night on, in this commercial or that appearance." For me, it was sitting in a dark, quiet room getting paid to watch his content and to approve and send it down the line for the rest of the world to enjoy and watch. And that's how I am familiar with his question mark, his trademark question mark suits, and his free money starts here slogan, and all of the work that he has done to help people around the country and the world to figure out ways to get free money from the government. And just watching his content, he has years worth of content on YouTube that's just amazing. He's doing amazing things even after all these years. He's Matthew Lesko and he is on Marc My Words. How you doing today, Matthew?
Hi, Mark. Well, I'd like to listen to that again. Can we replay that? And I could listen to all you said nice things about me. You said, just unforgettable or something. And I think we're all just, just sort of like pieces of sand that nobody's going to care about it. So it's nice to, boy, I'm actually unforgettable. Besides from ex-wives, that's sort of nice to hear.
Oh, believe me, when your message came in my inbox to request being
Yeah.
on this show, I was like, I know exactly who that is, and I know that is going to be a quality episode. And it's funny when you think about just the connections in life. Like we talked a little bit earlier about not only we're both from the same side of Pennsylvania, we also were in the DC area at the same time for a number of years. And I'm in Florida now, but it's just amazing what a small world it is
It
and
is.
what
Well,
brings us
isn't that a
together.
ride at Disneyland? It's a small world after all.
Yup, I am very, as you know, I am familiar down here in Florida now. I go to visit that mouse who will remain nameless, but much like you, we all know who that is. And
Uh,
I visit that mouse often, and I am very excited to have you, Matthew, on Mark
that's
My
awfully nice
Words.
to hear. I haven't done media in many, many, many years, and since I was because after books sort of didn't work anymore. I was in the business of selling reference books, and all of a sudden, this thing called the internet came, and nobody needed a reference book. And then I had to reinvent myself. I knew the information I had was still a value, and I think it still will be. So I had to figure out how do people what will people, well, actually, in order to pay my way in life, I figure, how could I put this in a format that people are willing to pay for it now? I think broadcast television is trying to do that too, right?
They are. And I can't wait. That was actually something I was thinking about because you started out in college. I always go in the way back machine to when
Right,
people were in college. I know you studied computers way back when,
right,
business computers. So you've always been kind of like forward thinking. And I know that even though I wasn't quite alive back then yet, I can imagine that not a lot of people were thinking about computers or the possibilities quite as much as obviously they do now. And I thought a lot about all of the reinvention and especially that line from doing the commercials to doing what you're doing now. But we can take a step back to the beginning to when you were thinking about being an entrepreneur. Just talk about those days. And, did you have
right.
any idea that you were going to wind up going in the direction that you did?
No, but I know I want to start a business. I'd work for somebody for 6 months and get bored as hell and thought the people were idiots and and I said and waste my time, in politics and complaining about management or whatever. And I said, I'd rather have my own business and let people waste their time complaining about me instead of me wasting my time complaining about somebody else. So I went to get an MBA, and I got that after the Navy, and that was Vietnam time. And so I had GI Bill. I went to AU. The only people let me in. I barely got out of undergraduate school, and that's why I went into the Navy. I couldn't get into grad school or anything, and so it was the draft. I got out of there and was going to start businesses. Had a couple that failed. Even I was like a consultant, and had a software company that failed, and all kinds of stuff. And then that was the best thing that happened to me, I think, is failure. Because you get all these ideas that people put in your head or the media or whatever about what success is, what you have to do. I was doing all that, even went to MBA school and did everything they said to do. And at least I thought, and it didn't work. And the most important thing, I wasn't having fun. so, so it was, I got it. Okay, so I'm doing something, not having fun. And maybe I'm going to have fun in the future and have a lot of success or something. And that's just a maybe. Now, why am I going to spend my whole life doing that with just a maybe? So I said, I got to reverse this thing. I got to have fun today. I got to take care of myself and feed myself, but have fun today because that's the only thing that's for sure. The maybes and we have no control over. And when I started doing that, that's when it changed because then what I wanted to do or felt like I had to do was more special than doing something everybody else told me I should do. And because that wasn't me. And I think our best gifts we have to give each other, either personally as lovers or in business and society, is things that come from our heart and things that are basically easy for us to do because that's really us. And we could give that more. And so we could love society and a partner more if we give what is natural to us. But I feel the education system doesn't say, well, let's see what's weird about you. Let's go and we'll try to blow that up and have you make money with it. They don't know. They give you five choices. You're going to be a doctor, a lawyer,
You
and that's bad.
You have
You
a trait that a lot, if not, I don't know if I want to use an absolute and say all entrepreneurs have it, but you have that thing in you that you're just like, just hearing your story about, oh, I worked in a corporate environment. I didn't fit it. I didn't enjoy the politics and the fitting in and everything. And I feel like all entrepreneurs have that same thing in common. I don't hear a
Really?
whole lot, and it's not to bash corporate America because there's a lot of people
Right,
who are very good at it and fall into that role
right,
very well. But it seems like almost all entrepreneurs say the same kind of thing where they're like, there's something different about me. I have to do
right,
something that represents what's in my heart and what's in my mind.
right.
And you did that. You made that decision.
Well, it was just because every time I didn't, I was failing. That's why failing is so great. It kicks you in the head to get you on the right path. And yeah, it just felt like jail after 6 months everywhere I was. Yeah. Oh my God, I don't want to live like this. Uh, and so and there's so many more ways now to do that than there was, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Man. You have the internet now, you have freelancing now. You have so many. I mean, like when I grew up, if I wanted to have a store, I need what, $250,000 or something. Now you need $20 and you have a store on Etsy.
Have you ever thought
So
about if you were starting out now, have you ever thought about what you would do? Because you're making more points than I thought about getting ready for this and was curious to see if you knew what you might do.
do for what? I mean, what I'm doing now or what?
Yeah, just as
Uh,
like an entrepreneur, like what kind of
no,
approach would you have? Would you do
no.
anything differently?
Uh, no, in retrospect, no, I don't think you can because you don't know. You're doing the best you can. The only thing I would do is accept failure faster, so I could get on with life. So many times, in the beginning you get hurt, man, that just kicks the wind out of you, or it fails. You just feel like it's over, and it isn't. It's a lesson. Instead of going to get an MBA for 50 grand, you blow 5 grand on starting a business. It's going to teach you more than get an MBA, unless you want to get a job in a corporation. Then you need the MBA. Uh, and that's what, to me, it took me two failing businesses to unlearn all the stuff they taught me in MBA school.
Yeah,
Because they taught me how to be a. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting that you said that too, because I was wondering if there were any lessons that you did take from the school experiences that actually helped you. But if, yeah, I guess failure, and I know for me, when I talk about like if I have an episode that I do where it doesn't feel right or something doesn't come out right, and
Right.
it's like your business, it's your thing, it can be like a
Yeah.
gut punch and it can
Oh
be
God,
very
yeah.
hard to pick yourself up and keep
Right.
going. And my advice to people is just usually I call them tomorrow is a new day, today is a new day.
Right.
And you also, it's
Right.
almost like you have a relationship with yourself where you have to have a short memory, forget about the mistake, and just keep
Right.
going forward. And I don't know if that wound up being your same approach as you worked your way
Uh,
into more
right.
success.
No, definitely. It's just, as you fail more often, then you get over it quicker. Because you realize, oh, you do get over it, and there is a tomorrow or whatever. But it is, particularly after your first success, oh man, I would have killed. I mean, what I'm doing now, I mean, I would have killed probably 30, 40 years ago to get where I am now. I had no idea. I mean, I'm doing something beyond I ever thought would happen to me. Uh, and, and you're right. And that's why any inch I have. And the other thing, I think it's more, we don't get good encouragement. We think we do, but I don't think we get the right encouragement. Because if you're going to do something that's really special to you, it's going to sound stupid to everybody else. And because you're not, why don't you become a lawyer or a doctor, whatever. And that's not somebody who loves you, in my mind. But this is a very, you know, uh, it's probably not right, but the way people show love in this country is trying to protect you. So, which is a stupid thing because love is failures and trying stuff. And so, what we have to do, I think, to love anybody is help them do whatever they think they have to do and not tell them what's wrong with it. There's shitload wrong with everything. And I think the only way out of that, when your parents or your loved ones say, don't do that, you're going to fail. Just say yes. And then you ignore the, then you have no discussion. Yeah. Because there's failure have everything. And I mean, sort of, when I think of that, I think of, well, just think of when you have a child. I have two boys too, when they were little, and watching them try to walk, for the first time. They're going to do something now, crawl over to the coffee table and pick themselves up and then take a step and fall on their ass. So if I saw that and I said, hey, you're going to fail, don't do that. And that's what you're doing to grown-ups. That's the only way they learn. So that's, I mean, loving somebody to me, hey, okay, you want to try to write? Tell me how to help you. Because I don't know. I mean, and what gives, I can't get over what gives anybody the audacity to tell anybody else how to live their life when none of us know how to fucking live our own lives. We're all guessing every single day.
I I
And
I
good.
love what like every word of this I love because all I can think of is my dad. So when I decided that I was gonna commit to doing like the television
Right,
career that
exactly.
I've done, my dad was like, oh, why don't you just get a flipping business
Right.
degree? And it's like, well, okay, that's great. And I don't usually actually call my dad out. I guess I shouldn't have done that. He's no longer with us, but I
Yeah.
guess I'm calling him out. So it was my dad. I usually just say it was, somebody very significant in my life, but it was my dad. And
Yeah.
to your point, I think he was trying to protect me. But
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
problem with his logic is that I was absolutely horrendous at math and that people like you should be doing the kind of things that you're doing because
Yeah.
people like me should not be. I should be
Right.
doing something like I'm doing here today or what I do in my, just day-to-day life because I did not have the the skills, but I
Right.
knew what I wanted and it took a lot of courage and just being in touch with myself to say, hey, you know what?
Right.
I know the place that they're coming from, but I feel that this is the direction I need to go in. And it wound up being, I don't know if I want to say the right decision, but it wound up being a good decision.
Yeah, well, so far, so good. I mean, you got a lot of life left.
I do, hopefully. Hey, you never know.
I mean,
But
I boil that down to your heart is smarter than your brain.
yes, I think that's pretty accurate because I know my intuition is pretty smart, my heart is pretty smart, but it's that war between your head and your heart that can be
Exactly.
tough.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about, so I know a little bit about how you were doing some consulting with
Uh-huh.
corporations,
Right.
and then one day you decided that it might actually be more beneficial to help people like me and everybody else in the world rather
Uh,
than having the other focus. Talk a little bit about that and how things grew for you.
Well, that's what I mean. I was helping millionaires become billionaires, is what it boils down to. And Uh, they're no fun to work with, to tell you the truth. I mean, talk about, using your head. That's all they do because they want numbers. And all they care about is numbers, and their heart's not into much of anything except getting more money. And boy, it's just not comfortable. I mean, how are you going to grow your own heart? You don't grow your own heart by surrounding yourself with people like that. And I remember going to like giving speeches at Procter and Gamble, all these uh, so-called executives, and I love entertaining people, man, because I was used to be a computer professor, and I found I couldn't educate anybody, teach them any, unless I kept them awake. and, and that's what media is about. The first job is to keep them awake. Then the message is second, and that's why I was, and that worked for me, and being on TV, because every talk show liked me because they know they didn't care what I said. It was just how I said it. That was the only thing. So I was a professional guest until I started doing my own commercials. But God, where was I? At 81, see, there's a lot of stuff. And I feel there's a whole bunch of words in back of me here, that fell out that I was looking for.
I mean, I can pick it up here and kind of stay on the same topic and ask you, like, how did you figure out that you had all this charisma? Because you have a ton of charisma.
I don't feel that at all. I
Really.
never did. I was a short, fat kid. I still want to lose 5 pounds. I fight food and weight every day of my life. That's why when I got on the Navy, I started running just 5, 6 miles a day every day. Now, about 2 years ago, I had to stop that, but I still exercise an hour or two every day just for weight control and vanity. I don't see that was not anything popular in high school. Well, maybe as a nice guy or something, but uh, I wasn't a good student. I wasn't a good athlete. Had a personality maybe, but I didn't know that was marketable at the time or whatever. And I still don't look at that at all. Now it's what can I do? And how I taught at 30 or whatever you are versus 80, man, that's a whole different ballgame. Yeah. So, I don't worry about paying the rent anymore. At your age, that's sort of still number one. And so you have to take care of that first. And it, God, I have no idea. Never was the guy who went to a bar and picked up chicks or anything like that. I didn't know how to do any of that. That wasn't me. The jocks did that, in my era. Um, so I never, but now, tell you the truth, the question mark suit brings me closer to that than anything. Because, and I didn't know why, it was something that I didn't do for any of that. It was just something I sort of always wanted to do as a kid. I was a close horse, but in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, close horse means a tie. It's not. And at the time, I was thinking, oh, maybe. And my family, we had a little garment factory, made baby clothes. Both my grandparents came here as working in the coal mines in Pennsylvania. So my father started an entrepreneur. Nobody had degrees or anything like that. And I was like, oh, I hated factory work. Eighth grade, I had to go work in the factory. It's sort of like living on a farm. The kids all have to work. So I didn't want any of that. And I thought, well, maybe because I like clothes at the time, maybe a men's store or something like that. It was about the height of my thing. I was not a good student, got thrown out of high school, but for grades, but thrown out most of the time for just being a smartass. And maybe that I should have thing. And I think that I'm thinking, a great teacher could have said, I used to go to the chalkboard, and I went to Jesuit prep school. It was pretty rigorous. And I used to be able to get the whole room laughing by just moving my body. It was amazing, and that got me no awards, but just after school for an hour and a half a day writing Latin vocabulary. So the best skill I had, I was getting punished for. No, I never thought any about that. And what surprised me more when I started wearing the question marks, that just people treat me so much nicer. They don't know what an asshole I really am.
Well, I don't know about that,
But
but
somehow, I mean, I don't know what it is from everything. I mean, like where I live in Washington, in Annapolis, Morgan. So there's a lot of really low income. And like every street person knows me. I mean, they all just hug me and all the time. And the same thing. The upper income people are a little afraid. They don't know what to do. I go to Bethesda, and people would try not to see me because they don't know what to say, unless they have children with them. Then the children, mommy, mommy, look at the question mark guy. Mommy, mommy, look at the question. So they have to. One of the
So,
funniest stories I had. Oh, go ahead. What?
no, I don't mean to cut you off. I think what I pick up on, and I know that I see it too, is that I think sometimes people don't know how to respond to
Right.
people who are authentic and real. And
I
even
think that.
though the question marks and all of the stuff that you've been doing, people could view that as, a characterization or whatever. But I also think there's something very genuine and
Right.
real because you're trying to help everybody. You're not just trying, you're not necessarily, I mean, I guess we're all doing something for ourselves, but
Right.
I think the decisions that you made to me tell me that you were more interested in helping others than necessarily helping, a thing or helping yourself to move to wherever. And you can correct me and answer or bounce
Yeah.
back however you want on that. But I guess that's how I see it.
No, I mean that's awfully nice of you to say, and it really is. And the older I get, the more I fight for that because I know that's the most important thing. Like right now, my philosophy is, I mean, if I have 10, 15 years left, there's going to be a lot. Yeah. So how much could I give before I die? And and even just in the last few years, I mean, I feel uh, I want to love more. I mean, when you get old, as I have, you can't get stronger, you can't get faster, you can't get smarter. All that shit's going downhill. But I could love harder. See, that's one thing that I could do and continue to do better. You know, is loving people, and and just really the last maybe 6, 8 months or so. My business is that way, and I just talk about that all the time. Okay, all the people come, how much we can love each other, how much we can love them, and I have that as part of our mission. Then is just showing love to each other, remember. I mean, until maybe a couple of years ago, I couldn't even say the word. I said it 3 times. I've been married 3 times. See, I thought you had to marry somebody when you said that. And that's growing up as a guy in the 50s or 60s. We never used the word. My family, I don't think even used the word. Rare. I don't remember. No, actually, but that's a different era. And now it's the most important thing. And it's opening your heart. You feel better about everything that's happening in the world if you can keep your heart open. And the only way you can do that is by loving other people. And I had no idea. I mean, I was raised Catholic in and out of Catholic schools I flunked out of. But, uh, uh, and it just never uh, occurred to me, or I didn't have that language. I never studied that. I know I always liked philosophy. I don't even know how to spell it before I went to college. And we had to take courses in philosophy and theology. Theology, I wasn't interested in philosophy. Oh, people think about that stuff. Oh, that's pretty interesting. And so it wasn't. I was just pretty, you got kicked out of the door and got to make a living for yourself. Yeah. And maybe that's the immigrant, part of me.
So some of the stuff you're saying here resonates with me because I'm 46, well, I'm gonna be 46 in January. When I
Oh, you're
turned,
half of me. You're
yes,
half.
I am half of you. When I
You got
turned,
5 careers left.
so one thing that stuck out is that you were like, wow, I'm at this point in my life and there's so much stuff in my head, so much information, and I remember when I turned 40, it like I was taken aback by just how much I had
Yeah.
in my head and how much life I had lived to that point. And I know that's nothing compared to 40 more years added on, but I also, right around that time, that was when I started this podcast and I was really thinking about life and what I could give and did not want to look back when I
Exactly.
do reach the age, if I'm fortunate enough to reach the age of 70,
Mm.
80, 90 years old and say, why didn't I go for it? Why didn't I start a business? Why didn't I do these things when I felt it in my gut? And that is one of the reasons that I wanted to do all this to begin with, is to get people to get out of their seats or to maybe get into their seat, depending on
Right.
what it is.
Right.
Yeah, and start thinking about what they
Yeah.
can do for themselves, how they can make a better life for themselves, and maybe how to live a more fulfilling life, maybe how to give back. And those things were very important to me, and it still keeps me going because life is long, but life is also short.
Oh.
And you got to take advantage of the time, which you clearly have.
Yeah, I have, and that's why I enjoy the work I do. I want to show people how to do things like you want to do, or we all want to do, is that there's help, free help to do that. And see, to me, my biggest nemesis right now is Google. To me, that's great, it has all the information, but it's a capitalist, tool. And so if you don't have money to do something, you can't use it to Google. You'll never find anything for free in Google because you'll either find people who will charge you for things you don't need or charge you for things you get for free or scams and all that stuff. But more importantly, it stops people from doing things like you're talking about doing. Because, okay, where are you going to go to find out if I could do that? You go to Google and everything you call, well, yeah, you could have, if you have $10,000, you could do this. You have 20, you could do that. You could, I said, no, I don't have a pot to pee in, but I want to do something. And that's there, and you got to learn that. So I put our society now into two buckets. There's a two-thirds bucket is called capitalism. And then we have a one-third bucket that I call community. So a community helps each other for free, okay? Like your church, okay? That's obviously the kind of community organizations. But that's the government too. That's what they are. They already have money and they're there to help you in life. And but then we have millions of other nonprofit organizations that are also part of the community, but they don't advertise. See, so in a capitalist driven society, if they're not advertising, you don't know them. But the fat cats find out and they use it. I mean, that's what you see now with Trump. Man, he's got billionaires following him around like people, birds on birdseed, because they know they could get a government program or whatever, or create a government program and give them billions more than they could ever start a real service. It's a
We'll
lot easier.
talk a little bit about community because there was a point, as you pointed out, whether it was our conversation here or something that I
Uh-huh.
watched or listened to. I've watched and listened to a lot prepping for this episode, but there
Nice.
was a point where the commercials and the infomercials, you knew that you had to make a little bit of a pivot, and you did that by getting involved with YouTube, which your YouTube page is unbelievable, and you're on Instagram, and you've built a community, and
Yeah,
you're more directly probably helping actual people
yeah,
more directly than you probably were ever. So,
absolutely,
talk a little
absolutely.
bit about that and the effect on your life, your business, and anything else it affected.
Well, it absolutely helping more people. I'm more happy with the results of my work now than I've ever been. Before it was like ego stuff. Oh, I got an Oprah. That was sort of more than I ever thought would happen to me in life. But actually affecting people, maybe they got excited about seeing me or something like that. But I didn't affect their life like I do now. And but the problem with now after that is that I couldn't make money like this. Nobody buys reference books. Nobody. So it was the income stuff that I also needed that went away with all that and the advertising and all that kind of stuff. Uh, so it was really trying to figure out, and it took me a couple of years, how do people buy this stuff? How will they buy this stuff if they don't buy reference books anymore and all that because they think they have everything on Google? So why buy a reference book? Right? And that took a while. Uh, but as you say that you only have 40 years and I have 80, see, I think 40 of mine get in the way. You have a better opportunity to make something happen than I do because success is a burden. It's sort of like your father telling you, don't do that, do this, the way I know that people make money, but he's not looking at the future. He's looking at the past because he knows it'll work. That's what me. When you make money in advertising and think, well, shit, your network I put the ads on is gone. I can't make money there. So I got to figure out, and I'm still trying to afford. Well, I was good at this, so I'm gonna shove this in somewhere, and it's not there. But see, you not burdened with that, you're just looking for the holes and you'll fill it no matter what it is. I'm trying to, get holes and putting round pegs into square holes. Don't worry. You just see a square hole. Well, that means a square shit I got to find. So trying to fit something in that used to work into something that's working today just doesn't happen. So you have to fail a lot more at that age to find it. That's why failure is so important because it narrows you down and it teaches you. Life tells you, customers, they're there. Don't ask your friends what you should do. Shit, they don't know what to do themselves. That's why it's people. That's why I love broadcasting. I mean, they're just talking to you, whatever. I mean, that gives me so much spirit somehow in my mind of where I should be going. And I just started doing podcasts a few weeks ago or so, and I was just doing social media and doing that. That's not working as much, and somehow, so I'm trying to find out, and there must be other avenues somewhere somehow. So podcast is another vehicle of media, to use versus social media and doing 1 minute clips and shit like that. So this may be something to try to learn. And
Well,
very enjoyable. Got to talk to you. And what's nice, they're not tight ass Fortune 500 companies.
no, I am definitely not that. I am just a regular dude who
Right.
just got off of work. I have records behind me. My cat's tree, which he's never actually gone up on, is all behind me. You should see if I knew I wasn't going to completely screw up this whole thing, I would show you that I have a mic standing on top of a desk that I take with me, like just some small desk that I take with me whenever I work remotely from the car or in a
Right.
hotel or whatever. And that is literally the show that you signed up for. This is totally,
No,
totally.
it's nice. So it's authentic. See, this is it. Everybody who's trying to be Larry King or something like that,
That is
he was a
not,
great fan of mine. Yeah, he yeah, he's very special in my life. Yeah.
yeah,
He,
that,
the last time I worked with him, maybe 10 times, I don't know. The last time I was with him, he said, Lesko, I made you and H. Ross Perot.
oh boy. Well, hey, this is definitely not Larry King or Oprah. This is just regular old Mark My
well,
Words.
that's what I want to help normal people. See, because then I'm working with all these people are really clogs in the machine and they have to please somebody they don't even know. and that tells them what to do, and it's not even from their heart. Nobody's wearing their heart. They're just worrying about a hammer going to fall on them.
And this is exactly why I wanted to have you on my show, is because I'm hoping to reach the people who are going to be afraid of failure, or
Right.
maybe they're having roadblocks with their own business or having a number of other things going on that might need some inspiration and might need to hear a word or two of wisdom. And that's where my guests come in, because I always have the approach that I am not the expert, and I always try to come into every episode as the person, I don't know anything. I know nothing.
Larry
And
King was that way. He hated reading the books because he wanted to ask the questions that the audience would ask. So
yeah, well, I'm no Larry King, but I do know my place in this world, and I know what I think I know what my strengths and my weaknesses are. And I know one of my strengths is not knowledge about free money or
yeah.
growing through entrepreneurship over a 50-ish year period. That is not something I know something about, but I have a guest who does, and it's an
Well,
amazing.
let's give somebody some practical answers here. Let's say you want to start a business or a nonprofit or invention, stuff like that, or even just work from home, and you're worried about the laws or how to get clients and all that stuff. The government has offices in every city of the country, could be a half a dozen to a dozen, that will sit down with you for free and help you think through your idea, help you plan it, help you find money or whatever, and everything you need, legal help, accounting help, any problem, and it's all free. So you go to Google and you're just going to get lawyers, accountants, and people that know how to make $1 million, and they know how to make it for themselves. And that's it. But here's the address you go to on the web. It's the SBA, but you're not going to go to the SBA. You're going to go to people they support in your community. And you go to sba.gov, G-O-V, and then you put a slash, and then local, L-O-C-A-L, dash assistance. So sba.gov/local dash assistance. And you'll get there and you put in your zip code, and then you'll see 10, 20, 30, 40 organizations in your zip code that get grants to help you start a business. They're mentors, they're free mentors. So you don't have to get out of Google because you're just going to get killed over there. You go down and talk to them first about that. So that's one thing, particularly for anybody who wants to do things like that. Now, the other great source to start with is something called findhelp.org. And this, you know of it?
Yes.
Oh, good. See, that everybody should know about it, because in that directory are only people that give you free money. Okay. And these are, the community society people, most of them. They're not all there, but most of them are. If you go to findhelp.org, put in your zip code, and then put in what you're looking for money for, whether it's rent or utilities or whatever. And you'll see after you put in your zip code, you'll get maybe 50 to 100 for rent, maybe 100 or so for utilities, maybe 200 for getting trained for free for a new job, all these kinds of things, or car repair. There should be a dozen or something like that. All these things are there that you'll never find in Google. So, and then for career, I think is wonderful, is go to careeronestop.org. See, all the good stuff that gives money is either a .org or a .gov. So careeronestop.org, put in your zip code. And again, you get counselors that tell you about all the training programs. We have dozens and dozens, hundreds, and they're adding them new every day because that's a very important thing in our society. So that's what you want to know. And you go there and make an appointment. Getting information nowadays in our information explosion world is using people, not using the internet. You use the internet to find people to talk to about what this is. The other thing is for healthcare. Now, there's a wonderful website called Needy, Needy, meds.org. You go there, and there's just free and low cost mental, dental, medical care, pet care. I don't care, any kind of care you need. And just people don't know that. It's too bad. The people are struggling out there. And, the healthcare profession is so expensive that they're getting killed. The average person is getting, killed out there in this stuff. So they're, to me, the best starting places for all that.
And this is information that I see you giving just in comments. People are like, hey, Matthew,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. I need help with this, I need help with that, or they'll be like, I'm ready to get started. Just
Right.
so many of these comments, and you respond to quite a few.
Uh,
I'm not going to sit here and say everybody is an absolute, but
no,
you're very
not on
engaged.
social media. If you remember, I do.
You're very engaged, and
Yeah.
I love how you're so engaged, and you're right there rooting everybody on. You have like an endless, it seems like an endless amount of content, and you're so active. Like you're posting, like I won't again, no absolutes here. I don't know if it's every single day, but it's
Oh,
like darn near every day.
it could be 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah. And I mean that has been a game changer for you to just be that engaged. And I'll give you a chance to talk a little bit about that and how people can find you and how they can get a hold of you.
Well, the best place, I mean, to get my information is easy on YouTube. I mean, that I do that every day, and I usually put all the links I talk about will be in the description. If I don't say them orally, sometimes you just forget to put them in the description. But I don't want to hide anything. If I could give you a website that'll help you, I mean, that's see, I feel so responsible, but God, people have all these problems. Fuck, I could give you a website for anything. And that's frustrating. I don't know how to do it better, faster, or whatever. And so it's so important to me to, oh God, that's why I hate reading them. Because, oh man, I know an answer to every one of those questions. I'll never get my work done. And I have to do this more efficiently. And we're working on that. And then training people how to use this so they could use it forever. I mean, it's something we're not taught about how to use this community society, and we all just know how to do Google and spend money. So it's getting people on that because once you learn, then you could use this forever. Then it's for every question you have in life, and that's where you go first. What gets me are things like this. There's a listing of who has more who has more poor people, and this is the developed countries. So there's about 30, 40 developed countries. They call it OECD. We are number one in poor people. We have more poor people in the United States as a percentage of population than any other developed country. We have 17% or more. And people like Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Germany, Canada, I mean, they're down in like 7, 8%. Yeah. Wow. How could we say that we're the best in the world? Well, we say that we're best in the world because here we're number one in millionaires. We create more millions. See, we're number one, man. We create more millionaires than anybody too. Yeah, we're number one in poverty too. We create more people in poverty than anybody.
Well, I'll tell you what, me and the audience are much richer for having you spend this time on the show today. This has been an absolute blast. I don't know if there are any parting words of wisdom or advice for people wanting to start a business or just people looking for to take advantage of those programs that you've spent
Well,
your whole
I mean, I said YouTube, but also for us, which is $20, and it's unlimited. You get unlimited help for $20 a month. That's at leskohelp.com. So that's where to, if you want to throw that. But all the stuff we gave you, you could start with that. You just start using it. You use it or lose it. And I think the one thing, remember, trust your heart, and just your heart's smarter than your brain. That's the best thing I think to do.
That is fantastic advice to go out on. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I think this episode, this pairing, is an example of you truly never know where life is going to take you. You could see somebody on TV while you're working in TV and wind up doing a podcast episode with that person someday. You never know. And that is the crazy thing about life. And the fun thing about life. Sometimes it's not always fun, but this is fun. And again, Matthew Lesko, owner and founder of Information USA, but he's really so much more. I can just say Matthew Lesko, question mark guy, free money guy. You know exactly who I'm talking about. And I thank you for being on Mark My Words. This has been amazing.
It's good, great time. I enjoyed it. You got a nice heart, Mark. Don't change.
I will do everything I can to not change even when I become a Fortune 500 company. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your time. And thanks for listening to Mark My Words. I'll see you soon. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to go on a journey with me into entrepreneurship and life on Mark My Words. If you would like to learn more about me and the show, you can find me on LinkedIn at Mark Schmidt or connect with me on Instagram at Nimrod79. Video episodes of Mark My Words, as well as other content, can also be found on the Mark My Words YouTube page. Entrepreneurship can be quite the roller coaster ride. It can be a bit isolating and intimidating, but it doesn't have to be that way. Let's meet here next time at the crossroads on another episode of Mark My Words.